we have Chair Dr. Dewan Mohammad Humayun Kabir among us, who is Project Director A2I Program and Joint Secretary ICT Division. Oh, sorry, sir.
Doctor,
thank you. So, Dr. So sorry about that. So Dr. M. Abu Yusuf, Professor and former Chairman, Department of Development Studies, Director, Center for Budget and Policy, University of Dhaka. Thank you, sir, for being here among us. We have also 4 papers today, 3 papers. Unfortunately, unfortunately, Mohammad Ruhul Amin, University of Dhaka, is not able to present today, but we have 3 paper presenters among us. So I'm going to invite our first paper presenter, Professor Dr. Imtiaz Hussain, who is a chair, head, Department of Global Studies and Governance, Independent University, Bangladesh. And his paper titled Development Country Trigger, Education, Industrial Transition, and Bangladesh. Now, may I request Dr. Professor Imtiaz Hussain to present his paper.
I would like to wish you all a good afternoon. Thank you for coming. And I would also like to thank Dr. Marufa for the introduction and chairing the whole panel. My paper presentation is basically what the conference is all about. And if you look at the title, it says 2041. And that 2041 has become some kind of a synonym of a developed country, Bangladesh developed country. So what is it that will take us there from where we are to that point? And what I do in the paper is basically test 3 variables. How do I go to the next one? Yeah, it's up there basically. What I'm trying to do is look at 3 different variables that might catapult us from here to there. 2041, developed country. And one of them is, of course, the Industrial Revolution. Where are we to get there? We've heard a lot about the economic development of the country and the growth rate. So let's look at what the Industrial Revolution will do. Second one is education. And since we're talking a lot of the 4th Industrial Revolution, it is all about artificial intelligence, and therefore education must play a part in it. And the third would be policy reforms. Reforms that the government takes. And if I look at all of that, you will find basically, I put them all in a theoretical framework, and these are from development studies. You would have Walt Whitman Rostow's Stages of Economic Growth from the 1960s that has been used throughout the development decades, UN decades of development since then. With that, I've also put in political development. These are the original works done by Gabriel Almond, Lucian Pai, and all the others from the Social Science Research Committee, United States. And then the third one is basically sociological measurement of development, PQLI, Physical Quality of Life Index, in which literacy, elements like that are measured. They have an index in which every country has a score. And it is within that context that I look at these 3 variables. my preliminary findings, the preliminary findings basically pay a lot more attention to education than it does to industrial revolution, and why we will see in a couple of minutes. A second element that we will find is that education is much more important than industrial revolution, which means basically that skills more than status. So the position that you hold, that you're born with, that status is not going to be that important over time. And all of these, both skills enhancement and literacy, we will find that they are increasingly inadequate. And this creates a curve. Are we going to make it? Do we have the resources? And so forth. So let's take a look where the next one is. This is the Industrial Revolution, and I put all four of them together. And from the left-hand side, you can go to the right-hand side, the first, second, third, fourth. And what I'm doing here is just looking at what is catalyzing each industrial revolution. For example, in the first industrial revolution, it was the spinning jenny. Another name for that is RMG. Amader ekhane jamon hocche. So England was doing that 250 years ago, RMG okhane. You don't need any education for that. In fact, tokhon lokjono chilo na. A plants-guli banachilo, that's when you had urban migration. So people going from the countryside into the city, ekhon jamon Dhakate hocche. So it is very much similar pattern as England had. This is the first industrial revolution. No requirements needed, and you would only get low wage. Universal. Second industrial revolution, by that time you had something like the steam engine, you had steel was going to be building the infrastructure. So you had to have some technical knowledge. And দেখো এখন আমাদের policy makers কি করতেছেন? They are now pushing technical knowledge. And you see the growth of technical colleges, universities everywhere. So that's the second one. You do need some skills. You must learn some skills. Your wages are not going to go up, but this is the second industrial revolution. Jekhan theke amader automobiles, airplanes, skyscraper, steel lage to make it a skyscraper, shob okan theke ashe. The third one displaces physical labor. It now shifts to intellectual skills, not physical. So we are saying goodbye to the physical work, and we are shifting to the intellectual domain. Shekhane, the third industrial revolution is in fact the computer 1920s theke arambho holo, but it really became important after the 1980s theke. And the fourth one in artificial intelligence, robots and everything that we are doing, automation comes as part of it. So the automation is something that can even replace the human worker. Jamon ekon amader ekhane hobe. I think there was one paper on that today, ekhane. We shall come to see more about it. Next, we go to a little discussion of those. I'm not going to go through all of it. You can follow through. I'll just do one dimension, and then you can follow the rest of it yourself. It is that straightforward. So what we're doing here is comparing the four industrial revolutions. And I've just mentioned the necessary infrastructure. Ekhon bole dilam sob kichu. If you look horizontally, first dimension, you see them all. Surplus population tokhon below minimum wage, 8 dorkar chilo for the RMG. The second industrial revolution, market access, because now you're producing on an assembly line. So mass production, this is going to be there. So you need market. And therefore colonialism, tokhon theke ekটু বেশি ইয়ে হয়ে গেল 19th century. The third one, policy structuring. যখন এটা আরম্ভ হবে, that's when you have human resources management beginning to take shape. And you will see that coming through basically আমাদের এখানে Ministry of Establishment, Public Service Commission, and then the Finance Ministry. These are the three, the troika behind our HRM from the 1980s especially. And finally, the fourth industrial revolution is the mindset, education. Ekhane we are going to run into all kinds of paradoxes. Tik shebhabe you can look on the first column, Bamdike, the different dimensions that you can compare and contrast. And I have explained some of them. The rest should be straightforward. Economic transition, social consequences, economic consequences, and political consequences. And ki bolbo, let me just go to the economic, for reasons of time, economic consequences e jai. If it is RMG, ekhane, what you're going to find also, as one speaker said in the morning, Professor Rehman Soban, it is the agriculture revolution. And amader ekhane hocche, uni to bollen, production quadrupled since independence. And then economic consequences of the second industrial revolution, liberalization. We are still one of the most protectionist country, kintu 20 বছর আগে যা ছিলাম তার চেয়ে we have started reducing, liberalizing. Economic consequences of the third, you're going to find technological, lots of transitions. So one part of Dhaka, you will see lots of people playing around with computers and everything else. Onno Konai, they don't have anything like that. So the skill gap will really show. And this is going to continue for the fourth industrial revolution. The infrastructure for that will be much, much, much more different. Ekhon shob flyovers shob banacche. These are what we needed for the first industrial revolution. But the fourth one is an intellectual infrastructure. Chokhe dekhte parbo na, but intellectually we can make, these are networks. And so networks madhyome cholbe. So in that way, you can look at all the consequences as you go through, and you can judge where is our cutting edge, where is our obstacle. For reasons of time again, let me again go back to, that was about the industrial revolution variable. This is the second variable that I'm using, and this is the policy reforms. Amar kamta purapuri thik hoy nei, complete hoy nei ekhono, it's work in progress. Arambho korechi, and I've started with a little bit ekhane, especially administration e, key changes hocche. And what this slide is showing you, what it was like before and what it is becoming and should become. So it will be the developing countries, Bamdike, developed country on the right-hand side. So if we look at the developed country, you have an ascriptive society. Tar mane status does matter. Kothai ke, it does matter. Kothai Gulshan and Gulistan matters. Who are the people in those matters? And therefore, apni kothai thaken is not just looking where you are, it says a lot more. So therefore, that was the society that we have come down in, probably still live in. And like that, you have lots of other characteristics of the developing society. Skills amader beshi thakbe na, because tokhon dorkar chilo na. We didn't have the technologies either. So like that, we will look at everything in terms of the process. Ki kortechi. Mane, you look at the tree, but not the forest. Forest e ki ache, kothay niye jabe, we're not looking at that. Step by step jacchi, process oriented. And of course, corruption. If the big shot says something, the poor little guy can say nothing in return, even though the little guy might be right legally. So it's all status oriented. But this is going to change completely. Society is going to change if you become developed. Ekhane dekhbe, ascriptive theke amra aste aste kore distributive hoye jacchi. And so wherever you can make connections to sell your products, shekhane korbe. And therefore, you can see people who are the millionaires today compared to the millionaires of the 70s, huge difference, especially cultural difference. And like that, we've also learned skills. Skills have also become much more sophisticated. Ei je laptop, internet, eগুলি সব আছে এখন হাতে, we didn't have any of them before. So that's why skills have got into the picture. They are part of our identity. And here we are looking more at, this is the background for the growth of public administration, for example. You're going to find all kinds of policy reforms and so forth. Let me just move on down to the bottom part, Okane. And these are some of the highlights of the administrative changes inside Bangladesh. This is the part I haven't really done much on, education ta korinai. There are lots of education public policy changes, but here I've got some of the changes made about public servants. The Act of 1974, which was on retirement, 79, it turned to more like recruitment, and then servants' rule on discipline and appeal, and so forth. So you can see how the government is graduating itself, acclimating itself to the market. Ekhane, just take a very quick look. Nothing much here, there are a lot of words, but the message is very simple. Look at the left-hand column, it tells you what is the factor you are measuring. And if, for example, the first one, society demography, the changing work environment, traditional society, the old pattern, it is not a big deal.
Recording stopped.
But Akon, it is an increasing
Recording in
issue.
progress.
Work environment, বাপ মা সবাই বলে বাচ্চাদেরকে কোথায় চাকরি দিব, কোথায় পাঠাবো, কি skills, কোন ইউনিভার্সিটিতে যাব. So things are getting much more complicated. That is just one example. There are others like climate change, consumer concerns, and so forth. On the right-hand side, you see the technological changes that are taking place. These are the fourth industrial revolution, paraphernalia. And again, it was not at all an issue before. It is becoming increasingly so for the next 20 years. Let me come to some conclusions and draw some predicaments, Boledi. Of the three hypotheses, education offers more mileage in the sense that ekhane lekha nai, but ashbe, the number of universities have really boomed. We have over 150 universities, public, private combined. 1970s mane chatta chilo to begin with, all public. So it's a huge boom, and certainly something must have come out of it. There must be a premium somewhere. And this seems to be much more dominant than industrial revolution. Amader R&G brings our bread and butter, but is that where you will train your children for R&G work? Or will you send them somewhere else? And this is where we are trapped. First industrial revolution, we are kind of trapped. How we break out of it, যখন টাকা দিচ্ছে, এত কোটি টাকা দিচ্ছে, কেন বদলাবো machine? তাই না? This is the mindset that we're going while we are so slow in automating and graduating it technologically. Two observations led to that outcome. Number one, Bangladesh is not locked into, nor is it being driven by any specific industrial revolution trigger. Second industrial revolution, কোথায়? আমাদের steel mills, কোথায়? Periscope দিয়ে, telescope দিয়ে, আমি তো খুঁজে পাচ্ছি না. So where's the second industrial revolution? We are just beginning to start it now. We're just beginning to begin the third one also. So all four revolutions are coming together at the same time. If it is jumbled in the industrial sector, it is jumbled in our minds as well. And that's when we go to education. And education is our tekka. But the problem with all of it is, and you can see it everywhere, আগে যে আমরা একটা শ্রদ্ধা দিতাম, ওটা এখন নাই. As a teacher, I can tell you the proportion of plagiarism, copy pasting, using fourth industrial revolution contraption like the internet. এত যে copy paste আমরা করতেছি, it's not going to help us get to 2041 as a developed country. Acha, my time is up, and so basically at the end I just want to say youth alienation অনেক হয়ে যাচ্ছে, and আমাদের in industrial revolution 1 J civilization RMG, it is clashing with IR4 industrial revolution 4 civilization. With that I will leave you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your knowledge. And definitely, I think our students were benefited from your presentation. Now, let me introduce our second panelist, Ms. Sadia Sharmin, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Government of Bangladesh. The title of her presentation is The Fourth Industrial Revolution in Apparel Industries, Challenges and Opportunities for Bangladesh. So, ma'am, here, please. Okay.
Bluetooth mode. Connect to
Respected Chair, dear moderator, a distinguished audience, very good afternoon and assalamu alaikum. Today I'm going to present a very interesting topic, which is for the present situation in the world. That is the fourth industrial revolution, especially related to my presentation, which is upholds the fourth industrial revolution in apparel industries, challenges and opportunities for Bangladesh. I would like to take the opportunity for today, and it's a part of my DPA research program. So I would like to present this paper, not yet finished, but it's almost finished. So I can share some views, findings, and what is going on in regard to IR4 in the apparel industries, these sort of things. Actually, the technological advancement related to the fourth industrial revolution are creating disruptive changes and that are widely felt at national and international level, company and farm level. And the fourth industrial revolution initiatives, it's driving the fourth industrial revolution, and it is happening at an exponential speed. And we know this adoption and is embracing of this thing is very unavoidable for its competitiveness and its survival of this industry. And we know in the noticeable progress has been done in the use of technology of IR4 and systems and process in the developed countries, but there something problem is going on in the developing countries, including Bangladesh, in terms of adopting IR4 in apparel industries. For this reason, I have chosen this very contemporary issue in my research work, and thus my study focuses on the current capacity and future strategy of apparel industry in Bangladesh towards reaching the industrial revolution, that is IR4. And the findings of this study have multiple impact, and not only at the policy level and the factory level. So first of all, I like to share what objectives have been taken for my research work. Actually, the broad objective I have taken here, the Bangladeshi apparel industry's preparedness in terms of IR4. And upholding these broad objectives, the following objectives I also have taken, that is the narrowing down I'm doing here. They understand the level of apparel factories in terms of big, medium, and small factories in Bangladesh and their readiness. And secondly, inspect and determine whether the size of the factory is important determinant for IR4 readiness, and exploring the areas where apparel industries in Bangladesh need to prepare themselves to adopt and implement IR4, and finding the challenges and opportunities for apparel industries in Bangladesh to implement it. And the methodology I have taken, the primary research I have done in my study, key informant interviews, that is known as the KIIs, and the survey method. And secondary data I have taken from the literature review. And methods, actually in my study, I had taken the mixed methods related to the quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis. For the quantitative data analysis, I have taken the online survey. I will go through the why I have taken online survey. Because of COVID-19, for the last 2 years, we were not able to do our physical survey. For this reason, I had to go through online survey. And qualitative data, after the easiness of the pandemic situation, I got the opportunity to do the key informant interviews. And the research question I would like to show here, because of IR4 is a very new concept in Bangladesh. So what is the readiness of the apparel industries in Bangladesh? To identify this side, we have to take some research question in my paper, that are what is the level of apparel industries in big, medium, small in Bangladesh in terms of IR4 readiness. And finding out this readiness pattern, I have to go through the organizational strategy, organizational infrastructure, and the smart operation of the apparel industries. At the same time, the employment or talent or skill match or the readiness of the skilled people are employed in this sector. And is the size of the factories an important determinant for IR4 readiness? Because I have taken some small, medium, and large factories. So I need to find out whether the small factories or the medium factories or the large factories stands, where they are standing, or whether they are in the same line or they are lagging behind each other. And what are the areas where apparel industries in Bangladesh need to prepare themselves to adopt the implementation of IR4? This is a very important area in my research part, because the apparel industries in Bangladesh, they need to change their automation from to IR4. We know in the third industrial revolution, which is very much related to automation, and IR4, which is related to automation and ICT or IoT connection, or the robotics, augmented reality, or 3D printing. This sort of dimensions is very much needed to analyze. For this reason, I have taken this number 3 question. Number 4 questions, which is related to my study findings, the opportunity and challenges what the apparel industries are facing in present. For my research work, I had to make a conceptual framework. This is my personal illustration here, because in independent variables and dependent variables, I had to take. In the dependent variable, these 6 dimensions are here, and these 6 dimensions represents the IR4 readiness. And adopting these 3 dimensions preparedness, what sorts of challenges and opportunities are facing in through the apparel industries in Bangladesh. And limitation of my studies is the COVID-19 situation. Obviously, it hinders my research work, which is not done physically, the survey work. And IR4 is limited research in readiness, because when I try to find out some literature review related to readiness aspect in apparel sector of Bangladesh, I didn't find any sort of literature, but I got some literature review in terms of this segment in South Africa, Cambodia, Thailand, and also even in Vietnam. These sort of things helped me a lot. And new concept for Bangladesh, we know, though it is new, not actually the new concept. Most of the people in the government sector, non-government sector, NGO sector, different universities also know this concept, but it is known actually the scattered way. We are not moving systematically actually. So for this reason, it's also a very limitation for my study. And industrial engineering is a very important sector for adopting IR4 in the apparel industries. And in this sector, we see that industrial engineering work is not done much in Bangladesh, or this sort of subject are not acquainted with the peoples. So this is a great hindrance in this regard. And sample distribution, actually, I had to take 135 factories, which is medium, large, and 50% are the medium factories, and 22% are small factories, and the large factories are 28. And the current level of the employing in IR4 in the company, actually, here is a pie chart. You will see that the that was, sorry, I had to, okay. The current level of the employing IR4 in the company, that it means the pie chart will show you the level of this company, where are they, what they are thinking about this notion, the IR4 in apparel sector. Actually, it is seen that more than 34% mentioned that to enhance the competitiveness for the business, they have fully employing the Industry 4 in the past 5 years, whereas only 6% of the responding participants say they are not employing any of the Industry 4 because it is not relevant for their context. Now, the strategy level of the organization in IR4, here I like to show the impact assessment. And sir, okay. I think I need a help here. It's not sharing right now. I think I need to share it again. Okay. This one, right? Sorry for the interruption. This one. Next, done. It is done. Okay. Sorry, I'm taking a few moments here. Strategy level. Here. You share. Share. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. It's a technological problem from my side. If you see here, the impact assessment and the for implementation status and the okay, I should speak out about this strategy level. The strategy formulation is 38% respondents said that their strategy in formulation, and 44% said that they have a system of indications that give their some orientation about the appropriate adoption of IR4. And research and development is the very important area, respondents say. So most of the respondent here said the research and development is very important and is very great potential area. And procurement and purchasing, which is 31%. Okay. So it's a potential areas, and production and manufacturing are also very important area for adopting IR4 in this case. So I have a very short time, so I should skip and I should show some very important areas, the skill people. When we speak about the IR4, it is very direct question whether the employed people or the skilled people we have or not. But my study showed in terms of workers implementation industry IR4, it is said that 65% has their skilled workers, talents or employees. It can be asked that how it could be possible. When we do for the KI, it is said from the industry association owners and the industrial engineering, they say they have the people, and when they adopt the IR4 technology, the vendoring people also giving the orientation in terms of the new technology and the objects. So in terms of this, they are semi-skilled people, those who are working right now in the production side, in the IT sector, they are very much affiliated with this new technology. And in terms of sophisticated factory, it is said that the 63% respondents said yes, they have this sort of capability of their employed people. And one important thing I would like to show, which is very important area for IR4 technology advancement in the apparel industries. I have many things to share, but here the Impulse Foundation's strategic dimension is used in my paper. So organizational strategies or organizational structure, smart operations, smart products, data-driven services, and employees. This sort of 6 categories was taken to analyze my quantitative part of this research, and it is shown that the organizational strategy is 52% is in intermediate level, organizational structure also 53% intermediate level, smart operation is more than 80% is in intermediate level, and smart products operation, which is very low in this sector, they're 37%. Actually, we need to give more focus for smart production and products related orientation. And employees, it says 20% employees respondents say they agree they have skilled people. So overall, if we average this thing and weighted average, it is said that the these factories, what I have taken the 135 factories, more than 50% factories, they have their in the intermediate level, and they have that much capability to adapt IR4. They have that much kind of sophisticated mechanism, interoperability, interchangeable technical upholding, this sort of things are present within the factories. So this is not very hard in their case, because the factory owners said actually their old factory they are not going to transform into Industry 4. Actually, when we talk about the Industry 4 readiness, they are taking new factories, new technologies, automation, IoT, augmented reality. They're correlating these sort of things, and actually they are upholding these things. They are going for a new factories, which is not much challenging. One challenge is very important, that is the financial support is very important. So I should stop in this section. I have some ANOVA analysis regarding my hypothesis. I will not get chance to, but my ANOVA analysis, just one I would like to show, that is the large, medium, and small factories doesn't matter adapting IR4 with in a very nutshell, I would like to say. And this is from my presentation. And thank you all for your patience hearing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sadia Sharmin, for sharing a very interesting research of yours. Now I would like to invite our last panelist, Mohammad Salahuddin, Deputy Secretary, National Consultant, A2I Program, ICT Division, Government of Bangladesh, to present his paper.
Thank you. That's okay, fine. I don't think I need it. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respected panel and August gathering, Assalamu alaikum. As I have been introduced, my 15 minutes on transforming civil service towards 2041. Is there a paradigm shift in the capacity development approach in the civil service? It's kind of connecting the dots forward, being at the present. What we are doing here is actually looking forward into 2041, trying to craft a country which is prosperous, which is of a high income nation, and lots of prosperity to offer. But the thing is, the day we live today is actually connected to our past. That's how creating something which doesn't exist today needs a huge amount of strategy. A set of strategy also in the civil service, because civil service does a lot of coordination, does a lot of maneuvering, this whole process. Therefore, getting connected backwards and also looking forward to connect the dots forward. I say like this: a culture eats all the strategies for breakfast. The thing is, while we are thinking about a future, we need to reskill, upskill our civil servants. I tried to look into few leading training institutes. One is the Pioneer, the Bangladesh Public Administration Training Center, also known as BPATC. Another one is Bangladesh Civil Service Administration Academy. And then the Beyond Foundation conducts a lot of professional courses in civil service and for civil service. And the last two at the bottom two are the two initiatives taken by A2I. We perhaps are acquainted with the empathy journey, also known as the innovation in public service. And the other one is Civil Service 2041. That's a new design has been being implemented. And on the right-hand side, you will find the target group, like the foundation training at the top. It addresses the entry-level civil servants, while the advanced course on administration and development, it's more applicable for the mid-career, and that's how it goes. How I am connected with this. I had an opportunity to get into the moderation committee in all of them. So that's how I get connected. I have seen how the contents have been transformed, how the new contents has stepped in, has considered for to be included, and what are the topics that we need to exclude. So that's kind of a relevance for me. What are the drivers for change in civil service? We have already talked about the immersing technologies, the huge amount of data that we are generating every day. I give you one example, the Shuraka app, the vaccination for COVID is generating huge amount of demographic and also health-related data. If we leave it like that, it will remain underneath the soil like a coal in the minefield, coal in the coal mine. But if we can extract it, analyze it, use it as our decision-making tool for our future insight, then possibly this data can have some use to us. Huge amount of services are being transformed from manual to e-service. In last 6 months, me and my team, we have converted more than 1,600 manual services into e-services. Now the question is, how do they sustain? How do we take them to our end users? For that, we need to know the customers, means the citizen. And we have our national development goals. So the e-governance and the transforming public service, and also the growing data, and also the changing alphabets, and their, like A for Apple now becomes A for artificial intelligence, and B was ball, and now we call it B for blockchain, and C for chatbot, and all so on and so forth. So how do we negate and how do you fight against these drivers to create a safe passage for our civil servants? That's where we need to know how does our ecology looks like, and does this ecology actually transforms or not? More than 3,000 services are going to be digitized. More than 1,500 government to business services are going to be digitized by 2022. We are doing service process simplification. We are moving into a gig economy. That's a challenge for the civil servants. These are not actually fiction, these are actually reality for us. And we are creating strategy papers, not because we have to, because unless we do it, we'll be found incompetent. Like we have strategy papers for AI, IoT, robotics, blockchain, and also microprocessor design. We are moving or climbing up in the e-governance maturity model. Earlier on, our services were like connected. Then we moved into some transactional. And now we are trying to enhance it. And possibly someday we'll create a personalized versions of e-services. Like each of us can access the e-services as per our need and composition. The changing citizen demand are actually in everywhere. Education, health, agriculture, and business. We talked about data. How about 4IR? 13 ministries as of today have specifically 50 projects to incorporate 4IR technology into the production and into their services. And our new challenges are actually belong to the new organizational model, and how do we staff our people, and the cyber crimes and all those things are actually posing threats on us. Basically, there are 5 building blocks, and they're in the 5 small boxes. Client review, services delivery, policy, reform, and infrastructure. We put them in a grid on a column and the row, and that gives kind of a mirror image. And now this is what it looks like. We're trying to create an innovation culture so that our services gets continuously in the evolving process and they evolve within themselves. Therefore, we need to start with the co-design and co-create, and the yellow boxes are actually the places where we can work with in the capacity development of civil servants. Let's break them into pieces. It's been identified by the government that desired traits for civil servants in future, there are few. There should be some entrepreneurial spirit. Self-driven officials will proactively identify problems and take initiatives to solve. They should have actionable insight. They should have data skill, digital skill, and they should get into some kind of collaborative network. And the new approach that's been introduced are this: empathy, augmenting the workflow, and knowing your client. These things have been incorporated in the trainings offered by different training centers in public service or government. Therefore, there had been some changes in the content and also the pedagogy. To be specific, the new areas that's been incorporated since 2013 are on the left, and since 2019 are on the right. If we look into the 2019, we'll see e-service and service digitization process, a protocol thinking, and obviously the design thinking, how the fourth industrial revolution works and the data, and the agile and waterfall approaches, and the digital divide, policy formulation skill, and the disability accessibility. This has been introduced into capacity development initiatives of government. I'm almost at the end. There are some few numbers that I want to share. More than 1,700 trainings, empathy trainings have been organized. 5,000 ideas generated by civil servants to improve the lives of millions. 44 pilots have been replicated nationally. It is a bottom-up approach, definitely. Idea Bank, more than 17,000 ideas have been generated. It has got ingrained in the annual performance agreement as well as in the performance appraisal of civil servants. Therefore, they are actually in a process to think and act in a new way. I'll give you two numbers. The National Portal Framework, that's the impact. How much man-hour we have saved. It's on the right, on the black ink. And the service framework, the e-filing system, how much impact has it done to different offices? Teachers portal, teachers are now self-motivated and they are creating their own contents, which they share online, and it can be accessed from any part of the country. There are more than 5,000 digital centers that we are talking about. But the problem is, there's the last slide. Can I take a minute? Yes. Thank you. On a timeline, before 2013, we used to follow a conventional approach for capacity development of civil servants. Since 2013, we introduced a set of areas to improve the capacity. And we have gone through this before. The empathy, innovation, KYC, SPS, negotiation techniques, and public procurement and all those things. We upscaled in 2021, where we introduced the protocol thinking and all those things. I talked about it. But the thing is, how can we connect 2041 from now? Is this paradigm shift enough? Is this effort, are this effort enough? Do we have a good prediction model? Do we have are we in the risk of prediction failure? Do we have enough collaboration between the public, private, and academia? Do we have a goal setting for the civil servants? And are we creating inequality in the civil service in this process? These are the questions that we are going to answer. And I believe it will take a few years, but we have to answer them sequentially. We should not fall into the trap of culture, it's strategy for breakfast. And we have to keep in mind that it's not a big bang, it's not magic, we have to do it. This research is actually looking back how we have transformed, is actually an attempt to look forward how we can connect and reach 2041. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for sharing your paper and research. Now I would like to request our chair, Honorable Chair, Dr. M. Abu Yusuf, to share a few thoughts about papers, those who are presented today. So please.
Thank you very much, respected paper presenters and audience. I think it's very timely initiative, and the subject itself has a very importance in the context of Bangladesh. So let me say a few words before focusing on the specific papers. But I found very interesting papers, interesting findings of all the three papers. So the ongoing fourth industrial revolution has profound implications for Bangladesh, primarily driven by automation, robotics, and artificial intelligence. This revolution has been transforming the way we work, live, and produce goods and services. And you know, Bangladesh has been progressing well. And now let me just quote one theme of the Human Development Report 2019. That is, we need to go beyond today. We need to go beyond average, and we need to go beyond something that is, we need to make ourselves different from others. So if we want to prepare ourselves for the, say, for one transition period, though the focus is on 2041, today's papers, but we are having a 5 years transition period for our transformation from LDC country to developing countries. So we need to prepare ourselves, and Salahuddin Bhai rightly pointed out that how we are going to cope with this, this fourth industrial revolution, particularly the capacity enhancement of the government officials. And also, the 8th 5-year plan of Bangladesh acknowledges the challenges and opportunities brought about this change. There are many dimensions of this transformation, and as a nation, we must proactively seize the opportunities to build our country's competitiveness. As a student of economics, we always prefer that productivity is the ultimate source of living standard. If you compare with the Bangladeshi workers with the workers of China or India, the main differences is the productivity. Main differences is the capacity. main differences is the capabilities approach, which is initiated by Amartya Sen. So we need to focus on that issues. Now the questions are, what are the industrial adjustments that need to be made? And our presenter, Sadia Sharmin, rightly pointed out that how we ready the private sector, particularly the ready-made garments. And we have some limitations, we have some challenges, but out of 10 LEED certified factories, 9 factories from Bangladesh. Number 1 factories in the world, that is knit, oven and denim factories from Bangladesh. 135 factories, they are LEED certified, more than 400 and 500, they applied for LEED certification. So we are getting ready for, we are preparing ourselves for this, for this industrial adjustments, particularly in the ready-made garment sectors. So how do we upskill the workforce? And that we need to now focus on the skill development. We need to focus on, we don't want to produce, as rightly pointed out our Honorable Professor Imtiaz, that is, we want to produce productive graduate, not the graduate only. That is really important. Forget about the number of graduates, that is productive graduates, that's important. So we need to see the difference between, say, for Kumilla University and Noakhali Science and Technology University. There are 12 Science and Technology University, but at the end, it is very difficult for us to see the difference between a general university and Science and Technology University. So we want to see in practice. That is the one area that is workforce area. And about 500,000 mid-level workers, they are working in the different industries. On the other hand, they are taking 6 to 7 billion remittances outside. So you see, there are 2.2 million workforce, they are entering into the labor market. But we have, 500,000 foreign workers, they are working. What does it mean? It means that there is a lack of, collaboration, or, there are skill gap between in the market, what the education institutes, they are producing. So we need to focus on these issues. And also we need to focus on how can we transpire the changes in our growth trajectories. So we want to see growth, not only growth, we want to see growth with employment opportunities. We want to link the growth, that is SDG 8, decent work and productive employment. And also rightly pointed out by Mr. Salahuddin, that is SDG 9, that is infrastructure, industrialization, and innovation. So 3 I's, and these are the cross-connected issues. We cannot isolate from one to another. That's the beauty of sustainable development goals. So that is, we need to focus on how we can combine this growth with, this decent work or productive employment. These are the issues. And also, these are the important questions that I highlighted. How do we address these issues? We'll define our development trajectory in the days ahead. Let me focus on another important issue, that is, it will be an understatement to say that we have entered one of the most important decades of Bangladesh development journey. By 2026, we will leave the group of least developed countries. And by 2030, we have the task of achieving the sustainable development goals. And, after the graduation process, we will have some, preference of erosion. Some preferences will be eroded. So we need to prepare for how we prepare ourselves for that. And also, meanwhile, our demographic dividend, Bangladesh is going to have the advantage of demographic dividends until 2035 or 2040. But time is moving faster. So we need to take the benefits of this demographic dividend, which is also passing at a rapid pace. So we have to make the most out of it. Therefore, our actions in the days ahead will determine how we would cope with the tremendous change that is upon us. While we revive our economy from the COVID-19 shocks, the wave of technological change triggered by fourth industrial revolution has to be embraced in a manner that can help achieve our long-term development aspirations. So I think today's theme of this session, that is fourth industrial revolution, and three presenters nicely identified that is what need to be done in line with moving ahead, particularly in the context of what we would like to say in 2041. So Professor Imtiaz mentioned, and I like the metrics he mentioned, and make a comparison between first, second, third, and fourth industrial revolution with highlight in terms of different dimensions, social dimensions, economic dimensions, and different dimensions. And also it links with sustainable development goals, because I would like to link with these dimensions with the 5 P's in line with the sustainable development goals: prosperity, planet, people, peace, and partnership for development. So we need to focus nowadays development in a holistic approach, in a integrated approach, that also highlighted by Mr. Salahuddin as well. And also the second paper, Sadia Sharmin, she also, our lifeline of our economy, ready-made garments is the lifeline of our economy. So out of say for $37 billion that we are having export earnings, 82% are coming from this apparel sector. But the main concern is value addition. So value addition is only 20-30%. And we need to focus on, and also if we are talking about fourth industrial revolution, this value addition we need to focus on. And also we need to identify, we need to diversify, not only, for the long, after 50 years of independence, we are talking on export diversification. And every 5-year plan, you will find this statement. But unfortunately, we are dependent on one product mostly. Once upon a time, jute and jute products that has been replaced by ready-made garments. What will be the next? But unfortunately, the advantage we need to have the leather and leather goods, because our raw materials are available, just only the compliant issues. And fourth industrial revolution, if we want to prepare ourselves, thus compliant issues is very, very important. Why ready-made garment sector did well? One of the answer is compliant. But in the leather sector, why we failed? Because we are not compliant. That's why, recently I visited Apex Footwear. We found that, they are importing raw hides, particularly white blue from Australia, from Brazil, and they are exporting their footwear. They are not allowed to use our Bangladeshi, raw hides. The main reasons we are not compliant. So we are not utilizing our resources, our raw materials due to compliance issues. That's the important issues. And also, Mr. Salahuddin highlighted, I like his presentation because he, from the institutional perspective, if you are talking, or if you are asking me what is the most important challenges for a country like Bangladesh, and let me quote one book, famous book by Donny Roderick, Globalization's Economic Growth and Globalization, Economic Growth and Institutions. So we are connected with global world and we are having growth, but our institutions are very weak. What Adam Smith said, invisible hand. But in practice, you will find invisible hand does not work. And you will find, recent price hike of essential items. So we need to focus on the enhancement, the capacity of these institutions issues. So institutions, rules of our game, that is the important areas we need to highlight. So he nicely analyzed, in terms of BPATC, BCS Academy or BIAM, and also A2I, and how these ministries are, working on to face the challenges in line with
in line with this fourth industrial revolution. And let me just give one example. That is how these institutions work. Australian Prime Minister has been fined $250 because he crossed Sydney Harbour without putting life jacket after a certain, limit. And the Coast Guard fined him $250. Why? Because the strong institution. That's why, he says that I don't know who crossed the line. The person crossed the line, he has to pay the fine. So that is the, role of institutions. So what in the context of Bangladesh, we need to focus on? We need to focus on our growth with our development, and also we need to focus on, we need to give effort, enough emphasis on improving institutions, that is in relation with the SDG 16, that is peace, justice, and strong institutions. So I think in Bangladesh is going well, but we need to focus on not too much on theoretical. We need to focus on practice, what is going on in the ground reality. Because after, say, for graduation process by 2026, I want to see, not in the data, but I want to see in the reality that if I look at the citizen of a country, I want to see the citizen as a citizen of developing country. I want to see the institutions. That is, say, for IUB, first time I visited independent university. When I look in this campus, I feel very good that it is a institutions, not only a developing country. I think we can compare with the developed country institutions. I did my PhD from Manchester. I did higher study from ICSSH Netherlands, but we can easily compare with, these are the best practices. So we need to have more institutions. Also, we need to focus on the quality of education that, of course, applicable, and of course, IUB, they are focusing on these issues. What I am trying to say that we want to see that is bridging the gap between theory and practice. I want to see, because, in one hand, we have significant progress, say for reducing poverty. On the other hand, inequality increasing. So we should not be happy with the average. That is, per capita income is $2,557. So we should not be happy. But we should be happy if we bring those who are at the, countryside, at the bottom of the, in the line. So we need to bring them up. That is so that our development will be development with inclusive development. Our growth will be inclusive growth. Then the Bangladesh will be, moving ahead. So having said this, I think very interesting papers they are presented, and that will add value in the knowledge. And I must congratulate Independent University of Bangladesh for arranging such an important sessions, and particularly focus on this session in Fourth Industrial Revolution. And I'm grateful for inviting me to say few words here. Thank you very much for your patience hearing.
Thank you, sir, for your comprehensive analysis. And we are glad to have you here today in the IUB campus. We don't have a lot of time, but let's open the floor for a few questions, maybe one or two questions, before we move to our last closing session. So anyone, any question? Please, the microphone, please.
Thank you very much. So my question is to Mr. Muhammad Salahuddin. My question is, could you please expand upon the concept of empathy journey, or how government is really, planning or, teaching public servants to have more empathy, as empathy is something which is an inherent quality of human being. How you teach it, that's what my question is. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much. It's a wonderful question. Empathy is not inherent. We are not born with it. We can gain it once we are sensitized. Please take a seat. The way we work through it, our objective was to empathize civil servants to feel the client. So we took a bunch of officers to a remote location for 5 days. On a second and a third day, we put them in disguise and sent them to different public offices. They are not supposed to disclose their identity. They will impostor themselves as if they are clients. Let's say I'll go to a fisheries office, somebody else will go to a land office, someone else will go to another office, agriculture office, or maybe somewhere else. And then they will request for the service, and then they will feel how fine it is and how hard it is to receive the service without disclosing your identity. And when they come back, there are some specific videos and how they analyze their clients. And after 5th day, I have seen many of my colleagues, let's say I have facilitated more than 200 workshops, and I have seen my colleagues shedding tears as they feel the pain of the clients who are not their relative. That's beautiful. And when he goes back to his office, he is a self-driven, empathized person who is ready to solve all the puzzles for the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. Anybody else would like to ask questions to our panelists or even chair? We can ask questions to our honorable chair as well if you wish to. No more question. That's fine. So I would like to close the session today, and I would like to thank all the panelists and our honorable chair to be present here. Just let me do the honor to present a crest to our chair today as a token of appreciation. And we do have some certificates for our panelists as well. Yes. So we have coffee and snacks here. So I would request our panelists and honorable chair to have some tea and snacks with us.